Broker Bulletin acknowledges the traditional custodians of all the lands across the country on which we record our podcast and pays its respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Welcome to the Broker Bulletin podcast, where better begins. Join us as we chat with brokers about what's working for them, what drives them, and the real challenges and wins that matter most right now.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Broker Bulletin. I'm Alberto Gorgioski, and one of the questions I get asked all the time is, how do I set up a squeaky clean sales process? So how do you close those customers on that first call? Well, one broker and business owner who's got the process down pat is Patrick Noll. Welcome to the show.
G'day,
Can you
mate.
start off by telling us a little bit about your business, please, Patrick?
Sure, man. Thanks for having me on. I've been broking for 7 years.
Right.
4 years with my own business, a couple of years before that.
Okay.
Going over to my own brand at the moment.
How you finding it?
Yeah, good, man. Good with your help. It's all going well.
Awesome.
But, yeah, we should have that'll launch in the next month, which is really exciting.
Exciting.
Yeah, it should be really good. Yeah.
Pat, look, it's easy when you're a sales extraordinaire like yourself, mate, but let's start off with the basics. Like, how do you approach the first calls with the customer and your clients?
Sure. So look, first call, I think main thing I'm trying to do is figure out what they need.
Yeah.
And I think that's different for everyone. So early days on the phones, I think you learn pretty quickly that if you start selling in the wrong way to the wrong person, it's not going to have the desired effect.
Right.
So, if a tradie picks up the phone, it's going to be a different call than if a lawyer picks up the phone. The pitch is going to be different, but mainly at the beginning, it's just listening to what they're after. That's really what I'm after. So if it's someone who's really time poor, well, I'm not going to stick on the phone with them for 25 minutes, right? It's going to be a pretty quick call. If it's a first home buyer or a first time investor, they're probably going to need some more hand holding. So really tailoring it to sort of, the feedback I'm getting from them in that first call.
So building trust is key, right? And you can attest to that as a broker. And I think sometimes in our industry, you say sales, and a lot of brokers probably get a little bit nervous around that word.
Definitely.
But trust is key. How do you get them believing and knowing that you're the right broker for them?
For me personally, for whatever reason, I hate being sold to.
Right.
Kills me.
I think we all do, right?
I hate it. It makes the hairs on the back of my neck stick up, So I always try and take that first conversation in a pretty colloquial sense, Right. I'm not humming myself up. I'm not going for the jugular right off the bat.
Right.
I'm usually just having a chat, seeing where they're up to, seeing if they've had the conversation before, and best understanding sort of how I can help. And I think getting that feeling of I'm trying to look after them as opposed to necessarily filling my boots up and trying to close them.
Sure.
Usually has the desired effect. Yeah.
Hey, and there is that fine line though, right? Like if we're too nurturing and we don't have a sales process, you find a lot of brokers out there probably saying, I'm waiting 3-4 weeks to get docs back or trickling back in. I think you and I had a few of those chats.
We did.
So I think there is a fine line of being a nurturing broker, but also one that does know how to close that call without sounding salesy. Getting documents up front can be a challenge. What's your secret into making it happen on the call?
Look, it's a tough one. I think a lot of brokers struggle with. I actually got an amazing tidbit from Tom Morrison from Aria Brokers, who's part of the...
Shout out to Tom.
Shout out to Tom, that's right. So his one was, when he does that first intro call, he essentially books in that second meeting with them for the following week, right? And books it in and says, if we don't have your docs back 3 days before, we're going to have to cancel the meeting, right? So it creates that urgency. It's not an arbitrary time where we need your docs back next week. It's a time that they're going to miss out on that meeting if they don't get them back. So I've started it, mate. It's working. Yeah, it's working. Really, yeah.
Cool.
And we get our team kind of coming in saying, hey, Alberto, we haven't got your docs yet. You know what I mean? We're going to have to cancel the meeting with Pat. And then they go, shit, I better.
I'm sending it right now, I promise. Yeah. Hey, question. You sent me a text last week. I'm putting you on the spot here.
Okay.
And he said, mate, I tried that sales technique.
Yeah.
And at work, I got docs back that night.
Yeah.
Work me through that. What happened on that call?
Yeah. So you and I have two very different ways to do it, right?
Of course, right?
But love hearing about the way sort of other people do things. And it was really eye-opening to know that if you've got people sitting there at the front end of your pipeline for 2 or 3 weeks, like you're just wasting so much time for your team and you, right? And you and I sort of had that discussion. And what I realized was if you could get on that first call and find out if they're ready is the first thing. A lot of people are just sort of shopping around early days, right? Which is fair enough. For those people, you can give some value and then you can sort of put them in your pipeline somewhere, right? Where they're going to be on a nurture campaign or whatever it might be. but not putting them on a doc list chase up is the key, right? So sort of saying, hey, look, if you're ready to go now, we're working with people who are ready to go. Otherwise, we can get you on a nurture campaign. For the client I spoke to after our conversation, they were like, cool, let's do it right away.
Right? Yeah, look, and I think a lot of the times it is that, right? Like customers don't know how long your process should take. Like
100%.
there's no predefined, you go to a broker and it takes X amount of days for it to get on the ball. So unless we're dictating that as brokers, I think we're leaving it up to chance of what they define as the process. So it's a good call out, setting urgency, right? Tom's idea and incorporating it into your way is very important. You mentioned something really interesting, right? You and I do it different, and that's blaringly obvious. And you and another 21,000 brokers will probably do it different as well. Everyone has their own flair and their own way. Sales process, when you listen to self-help gurus, it's do it this one way and I promise it works, when we know it doesn't. Do you actively now think about what your process is, or have you now come to a point where you know what works? I'm just executing to it.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've never done any sort of official sales training or, never been a big sales book reader or anything like that. So it's just kind of been intuitive for me. And I had a background in hospitality. My parents owned restaurants and things like that. So I knew how to sort of over-service. And that's kind of where I came from early in my career, you know, just like do everything for that person. And what you quickly realize is that's not the way you can scale a business, right? You're just busting over backwards to do everything for everyone. And so you sort of realize from there that you've got to go after the clients. And that's what I do. I go after the clients who is going to be compatible with me, right? So if I have a first chat with someone and I go, they're speaking to 3 or 4 other brokers and, they've moved around home loans, 2 or 3 times in the last year or 2. It's usually a conversation where I just say, look, we're not going to be the best fit for each other.
That's so powerful. I think the fact that you're identifying customers that are right for your business, not all customers are right for your business, I think just details where you are today. And I think you can agree to this. When you started your business, it's every single customer on this planet Earth is perfect for me, right?
Everyone. Or if somebody isn't perfect for me, that it's me doing something wrong, right? Like I've got what am I doing wrong where I can't get every single one of them? And which, I mean, when you're young and hungry and you don't have that much business, you don't want to let anything go past, right? Not. But the beauty of sort of building your business out a bit is you can work with people who you want to work with, right? And who you get along with. And I think that's the main thing. I want to finish, a client down at settlement, post-settlement, be mates with them. That's how I kind of want to feel about it. Not that I resent someone for riding me for the last 2 or 3 months, or vice versa if I'm chasing them for docs and things like that.
I love this question. You're obviously efficient, right, in your business. How do you balance that speed and efficiency without impacting that customer experience into them thinking, wait, is this guy any good? Like, sometimes when a service is perceived to be lengthy, however you can do it really quickly, sometimes customers may feel a little bit adverse into, have I picked the right person?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Have you come across times where you find yourself pulling back, or you're confident in your whole value proposition?
Look, I think I set it up at the beginning, right? Just preposition it and say, hey, look, when do you want to get this done? That's usually the first question asked, right? Yeah. And if they say, I'm keen to go, well, then it's like, great, we're going to work this quickly.
Speed's probably a key factor, right?
We need everything from you by this date, or we're going to have an approval by this date, right? And then we just sort of stick to that timeline. Okay. If people are a little sort of more wishy-washy about it, they're going away or whatever it might be, that's when, with your help, I'm getting to the point where I'm saying, great, we'll put you onto a nurture campaign, or we'll, send you some info and things like that. And then once you're ready, we can sort of start things up when you're actually ready to go.
It sounds like you got a process for all types of customers now. Those ready to strike, where you essentially want your whole business working on, right? Your staff, yourself. And then there's others where you don't want to cut off. So you do need that nurture campaign set up and making sure they're warm. So when they are ready, they're in your ecosystem to absorb.
Yeah. I mean, you put it well to me, saying that if you're applying for a credit card or a car loan and you really want it, right, you're going to get everything back right away. It's not going to sit there in your inbox for 2 weeks. You're going to go, shit, I need this car. You know what I mean? I've got to get right on it. And so if you've got customers who are sort of sitting there waiting 2 or 3 weeks to get you the docs, the reality is, they're just not that into you, I think. So it's good to cut them out early.
Have you ever had whether it's an appointment or a call face-to-face, where that call isn't going right, or that appointment is when you get that feeling as a salesperson, I think I'm losing these guys.
Mm-hmm.
And what have you used to bring it back? Have you ever been in that position?
I mean, yeah, I think we've all been there at some stage.
I've never been in that position. Only once a week.
We were in that. I was the client side of that position. Yeah, look, I think that does happen from time to time. I think what I usually do is just value bomb them, basically.
Right.
Like I know when I'm speaking to somebody, I've had that conversation probably 1,000 times before, right? Sure. And I'm the expert in the space. They're not. And so if it hasn't gotten off on the best terms to begin with, for whatever reason, you don't connect with everyone right away, right?
It happens.
But I know a huge amount of value. I can spend 20 minutes and just give them loads of value they're probably not going to get from, the next person they're speaking to. And I think that's usually how it turns around. It's how it would turn around for me if I was on the client side, right? If I'm speaking to a new accountant or someone and it's not going great, but if they give me some great tidbits and accounting knowledge and things that I can use in my business, it turns it all around for me.
It's a very powerful way to describe value proposition, right? Like value proposition, having one for your business and being able to actively express that to your customer is what actually separates broker businesses, because ultimately we all got the same rates. We all got the same products.
Yeah.
What separates one business to another. So it's a great call out. Brokers out there would be listening to this thinking, easy for you, naturally, as you said, kind of intuitive to the sales process. But if you're giving a tip to people out there that may not be so intuitive in sales or find it a bit difficult and awkward to get that exclusivity or urgency up on the customer call, what are some tips that you have for them to kind of get that rate up?
Look, it's not really a sales tip, but I'd say sticking to doing what you say you're going to do, I think is a massive one. And I think everyone's been through that. They go to a new service or a new accountant or someone and they have that first chat and it all goes really well. They say they're going to get you something at a certain date and then that day goes by and you don't have it and you just feel like, wow, when's it up to? It's been a week. I'm not important. He's got bigger clients or, whatever it might be. So I think it's easy to get on that first call and sort of,
overpromise
and underdeliver. But it's about, if you say you're going to get something at a certain time, get it.
Stay accountable.
Yeah, stay accountable. And that's how you get referrals from that stuff. Not the shtick on the first call. It's the
That's a very good call out. It's a very good call out, right? It becomes less about sales process and more so the proposition of what you're providing your customer.
Totally. And yeah, look, the longer you do it, the more you have to give, right? If you've got a lot of value to give and you feel really confident in that, when you're speaking to somebody, you're the professional in that scenario, right? And so they've come to you to sort of extract as much value. So give them the value, I think, and the rest will sort of fall into place.
Mate, good call that. You've scaled big, right? When you think, how long have you been doing it now?
Business for 4 years.
4 years. I think the heights that you've reached from where you are today to where you started, I think is something that you should be really proud of.
Thanks, man.
And there's not just sales process in that, right? If we're being frank, there's other parts of your world that you've focused on. What are those things? If it's not just sales process, how have you gotten from where you were to where you are today in such a quick time?
Mate, I have an amazing team. I think that's a big one. My first hire, Stacey, was just very, very lucky to bring someone on who's so passionate about the business like I am and passionate about our clients. I think that's a massive thing. And then, just always working on the process and just
improvement, right?
Nailing down as much as I possibly can, working with people like yourself and sort of extracting value from people who are doing it better than me, which there are a lot of, right? Like Tom Morrison, for instance, going after people who are further down the way than I am and using what I can from their process.
I think the sense of community at Low Market also being that we have a lot of businesses that, to your point, different stages in life cycle, and being able to extrapolate that insight from them. And you're part of our Elevate program now as well with MK, which gives you access to those people in the room, I think, which is the most important. And I think that's when I started my journey. The benefit that I had was that I was around brokers that have been there and done that before, so it becomes less scary. So, mate, really good call out. I love what you say about your team, bringing like-minded people along the journey and the way you speak about your team. One thing that I found is it's always with admiration because you know how important they are to you. So that's a really big call out as well. At Broker Bulletin, we're about finding those 1% improvements, Pat, the ones that lead to big wins. What's one small thing that you do every day that has led to the biggest impact to your business? Tough question.
A tough question. Yeah. Look, I think I'll go back to what I was saying around sort of always delivering on what you say you're going to do. That's not only on the client side, but it's also on the team side as well. I've seen sort of in other businesses and on the client side as well, if you're sort of saying things to your team about what you're gonna do and where you're gonna be up to, and you fall short on that, they generally fall short on it as well. So holding myself accountable, because that's how I want them to sort of reciprocate that accountability. That's been a massive one for me, and it's at the point now where I know that if my team says they're going to do something, whether that's to a client or to me, it's 100% getting done.
Right.
And that gives me so much confidence, and it's easier to sell then. Right, when you know that your back end, your support staff, they're 100% going to nail it. The 100%. Selling is easy, right? If you're worried about, are they really going to do that? Am I going to stand up to what I'm saying? The sales side becomes way harder, right? Because you've just had bad experiences in the past. So nailing down that side of things helps you sell easier, in my experience.
Matt, I love that. I think my biggest takeaway for today has been be genuine. I think that's the way you've described your approach. It's not salesy to the degree where we're using these techniques to try to slime the customer in. It's talking real life value about your business, real life value about what your team brings to the table, and then that real life value of what you provide your customer as well. So being true to yourself, being true to your brand, and then of course incorporating a little bit of that industry knowledge and peer knowledge as well. Look, thanks so much for listening. If you have a topic that you want us to discuss, please email us at brokerbulletin@lmg.broker or DM us on Instagram @lmg.broker, and our producer will make sure to answer it ASAP. If you like this episode, make sure you rate and follow us in your favorite pod store. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for tuning in to Broker Bulletin. We would hate for you to miss an episode. Subscribe to Broker Bulletin in your favorite podcast app. Has this episode been helpful? We'd love you to rate and review us. It'll help us deliver content that's useful to you and help others discover us. If you have great ideas for topics worth tackling or have burning questions you'd like addressed on an upcoming episode, reach out. Links in the show notes. See you next time.